There are 108 Marma points in the body, and they are considered where energy converges. They're the points of the line of stress ending in the body, some line of stress. And they may be connected to the energy body because everything moves together, but they're also very, very grounded in the anatomical, physiological body. When a point in the feet receives pressure or weight, that line of stress stimulates a certain line of nerves, which will stimulate a certain line of muscles, which stimulates the bone, which has this wide-ranging effect throughout the body. Anatomists and the medical profession have for a very long time studied the body by cutting it up into pieces parts. And that's how they've come to understand it. They also have cut up the bodily systems, so the circulatory system as separate from the lymphatic system. And those that were here for the lymphatic lecture realize that you can't really pull those two things apart, right? They sort of are one. Or the circulatory system and the respiratory system. You can't have the respiratory system without the circulatory system, or vice versa. So these things are all related to each other. Take whatever on your lap off and bring whichever foot is most comfortable into your hand. And something I tried to do earlier was to see how flexible and how separate my anatomy really is. Hold your toes and try and move your big toe by itself. Interesting, right? And now let go of your toes and see if you can move your big toe by itself. Right? So they show this muscle as a muscle that's separate from the other muscles, but we can hardly move it by itself, which I think is very interesting. This is why we study as yoga therapists and teachers, why we study yoga in a holistic way, and why it's holistic anatomy and physiology. This is the deep compartment of the back of the leg. You can see here that they've pulled away a gastroc, which is the big muscle that we see at the back of the calf, and soleus. So those are the two superficial muscles. And then deeper to it, we can start to see these other muscles. Flexor hallucis longus, right, the long muscle that moves the big toe. Flexor digitorum longus, the long muscles that moves the toes. And tibialis posterior. And what else do we see in here? This really big line, which is the posterior tibial artery and the tibial nerve. And those are pretty big structures there at the back of the leg. If high heels are worn for most of the day, for weeks on end, the muscles shrink permanently, on average of 13%, and become weaker. So think about if these muscles are tight, right, from high heels or the way we stand or the way we walk, what are they going to do to that big nerve and big blood vessel? Tight muscles in the legs can be very indicative or very causative of circulation problems and heart disease. Okay. So let's look at the first one, tala hridaya. It's right at the center of the foot. And if we look at the plantar fascia, it's right in the middle. It's right where it starts to break from the heels into the toes. So it supports the motor function of the foot. It aids in the circulation of the lower abdomen and legs. It supports heart and lung function and immune function. So I think we can all understand why it supports the function of the foot, right? It's the center of the plantar fascia. It's the point where digitorum longus breaks out into all of the toes, and it's the center of the arch. But how does it aid in the circulation of the lower abdomen and legs? So we know it's here. Goes up the back of the leg, and it's going to come up through the back of the knee. Now circulation we can look at as blood, but we can also look at it as lymph. So we've got some lymph nodes back there. And then it crosses over from the back of the knee to the inner thigh. And what's here at the inner thigh? Yes. And what's the femoral artery?
The same thing.
It's the major blood circulator to the legs. So now it's not such a mystery. right? Now it's pretty clear. Oh, of course, that spot would contribute to healthy circulation in the legs. The only thing I think that surprises me a little bit is simply pressing on it would do that. To me, I look at it more of how are we treating that point every day, right? How is the arch of our foot every day? How is the calf muscles and the inner thigh quality? That affects our circulation really clearly.